I'm Steve Hubbard. I'm co-owner of a group called Click Therapy CIC with
Jenna Bristow.
he had a blood test on January 31st, and it came back on the 1st, saying for my dad to sort of say he had to go to the hospital. His first words was, "I ain't got time for that." He was in there initially for the first 8 days. They thought he had pneumonia, and he had his birthday on February the 8th. I wish him happy birthday and all that. Then on the 9th, he called me up. He said, "Are you at home?" I said, "Yeah." His actual words was, "Well, it's cancer, and there's not a lot you can do about it." My mum called me the next day, and she went, "I've got some bad news." What's that? She went, "It's terminal." And you sort of, you can't take it in. This is your dad. So this is now February the 10th. But for the last week, we moved him over to Hull Beach because, in my dad's words, he didn't want to go in Norfolk. He wanted back in Lincolnshire. I remember the day before, I actually walked into the room, and my dad was asleep. I had to do an about turn at the door, compose myself before I had to walk back in. To cut a long story short, my dad died March the 9th. 4 weeks to the day of diagnosis. If he had known before, would he have survived? And the answer is then what it is today, 100%. He didn't know. When I took over driving my dad's van, I found 50 empty packets of paracetamol. He must have been popping them like Smarties, but like the proud man that he is, he wouldn't admit when he was ill. But secretly, he was in pain. He'll never let us know. But Dad could have survived it if we'd known. I think my mum's cirrhosis, I think the cancer with my mum, it was almost like a race. Cirrhosis of the liver versus the cancer. One of them was going to win. And it happened that the cancer did. I remember my mum calling me up. I had to pick up a prescription. And I had to go to the chemist in Sutton Bridge. And the pharmacist came round to my side of the counter. And he said, "You do realise this is end of life medication," which is like a bolt out of the blue. And it's like, things are now you're starting to pick up the pieces, but you're on your own. There was no help out there. The last time I was in Cambridge was on April 23rd, 2019. It was a day that my mum's surgeon invited us to go, and we didn't know why, really. Mum had had a little bit of chemotherapy. Mum had even had a pre-op, and we were put into this room, and the surgeon sat us all down, and he said, "I've only said this once before, but I advise that we don't operate on your cancer because you have a 15% survival of the operation." There was one particular Thursday, the day before we actually finally got into hospital. She said to me, I walked in the room, and she said, "Has something happened?" I said, "What do you mean?" She went, "Has something happened?" There's "Something's happened and no one's telling me." She didn't know where she was. I said, "No, Mum, you're dying." And for some reason, she snapped back out, and she was like, she was Mum again. And she gave me a hug, and she went, "Do what you need to do." So I then phoned my GP. He managed to get a room at Spalding Hospital. But the first week or two, she actually recovered. She was actually not recovered. She was getting better, even to the point that the doctor said, "You may have to think about getting into a care home by December." She died 2 weeks later. I've not been to go out to Cambridge since. I've now inherited Mum's car. I'm now driving Mum's car. So I'm coming back to Cambridge on September 16th. Because my mum died September the 5th. And it's, it's almost like on the anniversary. It fills me with fear. But it's like going full circle and closing the door. And I think the experience that I'm going to have personally, just making the journey, is like closing a chapter.
Basically, Steve is one of my real good friends, and it hurt me to see him suffer. And I always look for a distraction when I feel down and lonely. And so therefore I was his distraction through that period.
Mum died on September the 5th, 2019, and we had already booked in to do a click social on September the 6th. For those 6 weeks, the only time I actually felt normal was coming here and speaking with Jenna, because she still made me laugh. So coming here was like normality.
It's close to our heart, mental health, because obviously we're both sufferers.
With mental health, for me, you're stuck inside four walls, and I'm sure a lot of people over the last 18 months can relate to that, being stuck indoors. But actually, you've been told to stuck indoors, but when you've got mental health, you actually feel you've got no purpose to go out. For me, to go out and take photographs was giving myself an excuse to go outside the four walls. You don't need a fancy camera or a big one. We just ask people to bring their mobile phones, their smart devices, and we can show and teach people how to take amazing photography that you will never be able to guess was a mobile phone. And all it takes is one person to sort of say, that's a good picture, that. And then suddenly you get the impetus to sort of think, and the encouragement to think, to go again. So that's what it is, to give people the encouragement to go outside. And then that gives them the confidence to talk about other issues that happen in their life, which is what we've been doing sort of during the lockdown period.
We set up the group primarily about photography, but it seems to grow in normal photography sessions. We was having a lot of people approaching us after going, we need help with this, we need help with that sort of problems. And we just wanted to have some extra time to be able to help people on their journeys. We always give people the option whether they want to sit in, because we do it on social groups. So social group is your choice whether you want to turn up or you don't want to. Health Watch, we did have pretty good turnout for, because obviously there's a lot of issues around mental health in this area, and there's a lot of issues around dentistry and everything.
They didn't actually talk about cancer per se, but they did talk about a lot of sort of health issues that are relatable to people in the area. For example, lack of NHS dentists and that kind of thing. And they want to know people's outlooks and feedback and their personal experiences. And now we've got people who've gone from that extreme to talk about other issues they have, like with their housing or with their finances or with, say, with energy bills. We had with one as well, didn't we?
That was our most full session ever.
All seats were gone.
Obviously, a lot of people were struggling with money situations, and therefore Alina managed to reduce their energy bills down sufficiently, and that made them happy because they've made that big saving. And they realise that there is people out there that can help.
As a sufferer, you don't always go looking for it. You actually wait for it to come to you.
There's not much help around for other sufferers, really.
We've had people come along who you can't even get out of the house, and other organisations have tried for a couple of years to get out of the house and they don't talk. Is to make people feel better. Using our own experiences, because we've all been there and done that. You go to the doctors, they sign you off, there's your medication, there's your repeat note, and they think they're on their own, and they think it's just them, and they don't want to venture outside because they think people's either going to look or they're going to judge.
And the thing is, sometimes they think that there's not a solution for their problem. You get given a phone number to ring. As you know, people with mental health, they don't want to be on telephones.
But people make that brave decision about that phone call because they need that help, or to talk to someone there and now.
They want to know that help is in that room with them.
It is very difficult and very brave of someone to someone to actually pick up to actually research and look for a phone number, so that's to say of a mental health group, pick up the phone and make that call. And when you talk to people as a group and on the one-to-ones, they can relate to virtually everything that you say. And we'll say on the open speech that I've got mental health issues, severe anxiety, severe depression, I've had a nervous breakdown. Jenna will then come along and she'll say her line saying, I'm bipolar. And I think that puts people at ease and thinking they're like us, whereas other organisations who are almost like ticking boxes and ignoring them. For someone who suffers from mental health, they have the fear in going out. The only time they actually felt good enough to go out was actually doing lockdown. We started off by doing photo competition. So we did that for 3 months, and then we got approached about an idea about doing a lockdown book to tell their stories of their experiences of the lockdowns. And as it happens, we started that in November, and then we went into another lockdown at the start of the year. And we only received the book yesterday. So it was literally hot off the press. It's 9 people's stories. We've got 2 books that we've done. And it's basically, like I say, it's 9 people's stories from 9 different backgrounds. You know, we've got nurses, we've got people who work for Karen, we've got myself, we've got people who are suffering really bad with mental health issues, we've got family, as well as moving everything over to online, which isn't the same.
I basically gathered my qualification in awareness and mental health during this pandemic as well. And also I did information, advice and guidance to help support other issues that they may come across within their life.
Normally, about 80% we can give people an answer and respond to that. The other 20% of what Jenna's been training for is that she can signpost these people to the right people immediately. Whatever happens, whoever comes along to us, we can get the right help if we can't help, if it's something way out of our reach.
But I think the key to our group is it is a fun element for just that couple of hours. And I think that does help boost confidence and end up like making people want to do more stuff. You're never alone in your situations, and basically there is always help out there. You just need to know the right person to go to.
And it's like with photography, everyone has a smart device. And we've just tried to get people to get the most out of it, to learn new skills, learn a new hobby.
Because we've even had some people who went into volunteering after leaving our group and also got into jobs after leaving our group. They end up wanting to be involved because they want to show off their work, show people how proud of what they've just captured. But we do get a lot of people who are socially isolated as well, so therefore they're not used to being in situations where they have to communicate with other people. And then by the end of the 6 weeks, you can't shut them up.
And you can't.
In my life, it takes basically the focus of whatever troubles or anything I'm feeling at the time. And I suppose other people find that too. But basically, the photography side is just a tool. It is basically, we end up helping other people in situations that we may have found ourselves in. And they all have personal struggles, but yet the photography group gives them something else to focus on for their 2 hours. Basically, we have a laugh, bit of a giggle, and end up making people feel a whole lot better when they leave.
I mean, when we launched Click Therapy in 2018, in that year, my mum started, that year started with my mum in hospital, and then my dad going in the hospital, and he'd only been in hospital once when he was born. Who knows? Could have went under, especially with mental health, could have went under, but it gives you a focus of helping other people helps you, and it takes your mind off things, and sense of normality comes out, and it's like retraining the brain. But yeah, so helping other people helps me. I'm sure it helps Jenna as well. It's like we actually feel normal, whatever normal is. Well, my intentions are to come to Cambridge on September 16th. I'm very thankful for the invite, and it would have been so easy to say no. But I'm going to do it because, for starters, we know you. We want to help out. Secondly, personally, for me, it's more than a journey. It's more than a journey.